Welcome to the Last Economy Podcast, a guide to the age of intelligent economics. We are launching into a really critical discussion today. It's chapter 14 of the book, and it's titled The New Social Contract. For many deep dives now, we've been kind of dissecting the failure of the current system, right?
Right.
Looking at that economic geometry and how it just crumbled under the weight of the intelligence inversion.
Exactly. We've looked at the flaws, the crazy dashboards, the physics of why it's all breaking down.
But now we pivot. We're moving from, diagnosis to design.
That's absolutely right. And our mission today, I think you could argue, is maybe the most fundamental one we've tackled. We're talking about the rules of the game. What are those basic agreements, those foundational understandings that govern the relationship between you as a citizen and society itself?
Yeah.
Because the old contract, the one we all kind of grew up with, based on human labor being the ultimate source of value, well, it's pretty clear it's obsolete now.
It just doesn't fit anymore.
It doesn't. We're shifting from a world fundamentally about managing scarcity to one about managing abundance. And the rules, they desperately need to catch up.
So the core question we're tackling today is, well, it's simple, but it changes everything. What's the new deal? What's the new agreement between citizens and society when human labor isn't the central economic input anymore? We need something solid, a foundation strong enough for this age of machine abundance.
And we really can't underestimate the stakes here. This isn't just, another recession or some cyclical unemployment blip. It's deeper. It's a crisis of faith, really. The contract we inherited, it came with a promise, didn't it?
Yeah, the promise was work hard, play by the rules.
And prosperity would follow. If not directly for you, then definitely for your kids. That was the bedrock.
And that promise feels broken now.
It is broken. The book puts it really starkly. Capturing that feeling of systemic wrongness, I think many of us sense. There's this quote on page 96. Listen to this. "The dream is dead. For the first time in modern history, a majority of people believe their children will be worse off than they are."
Wow. Yeah, that hits hard. And it's not just about money, is it? It's more than financial anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. That quote isn't just a statistic. It's like an existential alarm bell ringing.
Right.
It signals that the fundamental optimistic momentum we've relied on in civilization, that belief in sort of automatic linear progress, it's stalled. It's broken down.
So when most people feel like the basic deal has been violated, what does that mean for the system?
It means we're in a phase transition. The core economic code, the operating system of our shared expectations, it just stops functioning properly. It's not a glitch anymore.
We're running on obsolete software, basically.
We are. And recognizing that obsolescence, that's what forces us, really compels us to design a new social contract, pretty much from the ground up.
Okay, so if we're building new foundations, we first need to understand why the old ones failed. We need to look back, right, past the industrial age even.
We do. We need to look at the philosophers who first tried to write down these rules for society.
Like the Enlightenment thinkers.
Exactly. And the book makes a really illuminating point here. Every single major social contract theory, deep down, was a response to scarcity. It was driven by that fundamental fear of limited resources, of a dog-eat-dog world, a man-against-all kind of situation.
So you're talking about Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, Kant. It's these giants of thought. The book calls them philosophers of scarcity.
That's the framing. They were brilliant minds trying to build stability and order in a world that felt inherently limited, low friction, and often pretty brutal, physically speaking.
And that core assumption, scarcity, is the problem now.
It's the structural flaw. The intelligence inversion, this wave of abundant machine intelligence, completely undermines that foundational assumption. Their systems were built for a world where power and resources were largely zero-sum. The book highlights this specific limitation. Let me read this bit. All of them founded their systems on the assumption of a low-friction world of scarcity.
Okay, let's unpack that. How did their ideas connect to, say, the mind framework we've been using? Material, intelligence, network, diversity, capital. How did they try to secure those in a scarce world?
Well, let's start with Hobbes, the Leviathan. He was writing during the English Civil War, total chaos, extreme physical danger.
Right, a very insecure time.
Extreme. So his contract was the ultimate scarcity response. Basically, you, the citizen, give up pretty much all your individual freedoms.
Everything.
Just about everything, in exchange for absolute physical security, guaranteed by an all-powerful sovereign, the Leviathan.
So survival above all else, protect the body.
Precisely. In mind terms, Hobbes went all in on material capital, M, physical security, physical force, Y. Because, in his state of nature, the only scarcity that truly mattered was survival. Food, shelter, not getting killed. He figured without a massive concentration of M capital ensuring basic safety, none of the other capitals, intelligence, network, diversity could even begin to exist. It's a pure trade driven by the fear of scarcity.
Okay, that makes sense for Hobbes. Then there's Locke, who seems much more foundational to, like, the industrial world.
Locke is key for the Industrial Revolution, definitely. His contract was all about securing property rights, but crucially, property generated by labor.
Mixing your work with nature.
That's the idea. Locke argued when you apply your effort, your labor, to something in the natural world, you gain ownership over it. This was the perfect philosophical engine for a system built on extracting resources and turning them into wealth.
So it secured material capital, M, again, but specifically M earned through labor capital. Work becomes central, almost moral.
Yes, it elevates work. Locke basically took the Hobbesian fear of death and channeled that human energy into productive labor, making ownership the cornerstone of the social order.
And then Rousseau. He seemed less focused on property, more on the collective.
Right. Rousseau was more concerned with social cohesion. He talked about the general will, this idea of a communitarian ideal. Individuals sacrifice some rights, yes, but for the collective good, for unity.
Trying to build strong bonds, a strong group.
Exactly. He was essentially trying to maximize network capital and strong social connections, shared identity in a world of scarcity. A tight-knit group is vital for survival, for mutual support and defense.
Okay, Hobbes, M, Locke, M via labor, Rousseau, N. What about Kant, his categorical imperative, these universal rules? How does that fit the scarcity model?
Kant was focused on stability, predictability, logic. His idea of universal rules that everyone should follow regardless of circumstance. It lines really well with building a stable economic structure, what the book calls harmonic flow.
Ah, those persistent channels of value exchange we talked about.
Exactly. You need reliable, non-depleting ways for value to move to prevent chaos. So think of it sequentially. Hobbes secures the basic physical ground, M. Locke provides the engine for generating wealth through work, M via labor. Rousseau builds the social glue, N, and Kant lays down the consistent, predictable rules needed to make the whole machine run without constantly breaking down.
That's a really neat way to put it together. They designed the perfect foundation for, like you said, a small wooden house in the 17th century. Limited scale, physical constraints.
Right. But now, the intelligence inversion, this non-biological, potentially infinite machine intelligence, it demands we build a skyscraper, a massive 21st century structure.
And the old foundation just can't take the weight.
It buckles. The foundation built assuming scarcity just crumbles under the load of potential abundance, that instability. That's what we're feeling right now.
Okay, so let's bring this closer to home. Fast forward from those philosophers to the deal our parents or grandparents might have known. The book talks about the Fordist bargain.
Yes, the Fordist bargain. That was really the peak expression of the industrial age contract, especially after World War II.
What was the deal, basically?
It was pretty straightforward, almost elegant in its way. Labor agrees to be highly productive, often specialized, think assembly lines. And in return, management capital guarantees prosperity.
Like living wages, benefits.
Exactly. Living wages, healthcare, pensions, maybe a house in the suburbs, the chance for your kids to do better, real social mobility. This bargain is what created the modern middle class. It made hard work feel like a reliable path.
But the book argues pretty strongly that this bargain was betrayed. Starting when? Around the 70s.
Yeah, the cracks really started showing in the 1970s. The betrayal happened as the priorities fundamentally shifted. You had oil crises, rising global competition, big changes in finance.
And the shared responsibility idea broke down.
It did. That core idea of the Fordist bargain, that the company and the workers rise or fall together, it got dismantled. It was replaced by something much harsher, more individualistic. The book calls it the neoliberal contract.
Neoliberalism. Okay, so what did that contract demand from people?
It demanded that you, the individual, absorb almost all the risk. Pensions got swapped for 401ks, which you had to manage. Job security evaporated. Corporate loyalty became a one-way street. The main focus shifted to squeezing labor costs, finding cheaper labor globally, and using cheap credit to keep consumption going, to maintain the illusion of widespread prosperity.
So the social contract was sort of rewritten behind the scenes, prioritizing shareholder profits over the stability of the workforce.
That's a good way to put it. Shared productivity was out, privatized risk and maximizing extraction were in, and then technology arrived and delivered the final blow.
This is where surveillance capitalism comes in, right?
Exactly. And this is so crucial. The system didn't just break the deal about labor and wages. It changed the very thing being monetized.
Okay, so under Fordism, the input was your physical work. Under neoliberalism, maybe it was cheaper, more flexible work. What did surveillance capitalism claim as its input?
It claimed us. Our private human experience, our attention, clicks, searches, social connections, emotions, even our future intentions, all harvested as raw material, often secretly.
Wow.
This was the ultimate betrayal because it completely bypassed the social contract. There was no negotiation. Our consciousness itself became the primary economic input extracted and sold with zero reciprocal guarantee of security or well-being for us.
That feels way more invasive than just a bad employment contract. It's like a cognitive land grab.
It absolutely is. And this is why, as the book argues, if the intelligence inversion is the final systemic shock, surveillance capitalism is the mechanism shaping the kind of dystopia we might get.
Not like Orwell's 1984.
Less like the boot stamping on a human face forever, more like Huxley's Brave New World.
Yeah.
It's not overt oppression through fear, but engineered passivity through comfort and distraction.
So we trade our agency, our dignity, maybe even our ability to find real meaning.
For a guaranteed, managed, comfortable state of, well, meaninglessness.
Yeah.
That's the potential endpoint if we just let the broken contract and surveillance tech run their course.
Okay, that's bleak. So the old foundation is rotten. The default path looks pretty grim. We have to start over. The book suggests using a philosophical tool for this. John Rawls' veil of ignorance.
Right. Rawls' thought experiment is kind of perfect for this moment of potential abundance. The idea is you step behind this imaginary veil. You have to design the rules for a new society.
But you don't know who you'll be when the veil lifts.
Exactly. You don't know if you'll be rich or poor, brilliant or average, born into privilege or disadvantage, tech-savvy or not. Designing from that state of ignorance, what fundamental rules would you absolutely insist on to protect yourself in this coming AI-dominated world?
Well, if machine intelligence is super abundant, maybe I wouldn't demand a guaranteed job doing something an AI could do better.
Probably not.
I'd want access. Access to the power, the tools, and some kind of fundamental security, regardless of whether my specific skills are needed for labor.
Precisely. You'd instinctively design a system that's fair and resilient for everyone, because you might end up being anyone. And Rawls argued, and the book follows, this leads you to demand certain fundamental properties.
And these are the 3 constitutional properties mentioned on page 97.
That's them. Let me read that quote. We would demand a system that guarantees 3 fundamental properties: dignity, capability, and viability.
Dignity, capability, viability. Now, the book makes a really strong claim here. It says these aren't just like nice moral goals. It calls them FOR, fairness as an operational requirement.
Yes. And that phrase, fairness as an operational requirement, that's the absolute pivot point philosophically. It's arguing dignity, capability, and viability aren't optional, ethical nice-to-haves. They are the non-negotiable, physical, operational requirements for any complex adaptive system like a civilization to remain healthy and survive long-term.
So it's like physics, not politics. If you ignore these, the system breaks, like ignoring gravity when building a bridge.
That's the analogy. Fail to ensure these properties, and the system inevitably destabilizes and collapses. It's a matter of systemic integrity.
Okay, let's connect that explicitly.
Yeah.
How do dignity, capability, and viability link back to those laws of intelligence and the mind framework we keep coming back to? Let's start with dignity.
Okay, dignity. The book defines it as the ability to meet your basic needs without having to resort to servitude, without being forced into degrading, precarious, or totally meaningless work just to eat and have shelter.
And that's ensured by which law?
It's ensured by the law of flow. A healthy system needs efficient, equitable flow of essential resources.
Resources meaning material capital, M, and intelligence capital, I.
Exactly. If the flow of basics, food, energy, shelter, but also now access to information and computation gets blocked or overly concentrated, dignity immediately erodes. People get desperate. You get social friction, instability, breakdown.
So guaranteeing dignity means ensuring everyone meets some minimum threshold for M&I, which keeps the whole system stable.
Right. It prevents the system from tearing itself apart from the bottom up.
Okay, next. Capability. This feels crucial in a world where AI is constantly changing what skills are valuable. It's about the opportunity to learn, adapt, contribute meaningfully.
Precisely. And capability is ensured by the law of openness. A system has to stay open to new ideas, new connections, new people finding new ways to contribute.
The opposite being stagnation, Closed networks, gatekeeping.
Centralization, yes. Capability is fundamentally about cultivating network capital N, and also intelligence capital, the ability to learn. If connections are shut down, if information is hoarded, if learning pathways are blocked, people lose agency. They can't adapt.
So an open system allows effort to actually lead somewhere. It creates possibility.
It guarantees that potential isn't just locked away or wasted.
And the third one, viability. This is about confidence in the system itself, right?
Yeah.
Believing that the whole structure isn't going to just suddenly collapse.
Exactly. And viability is ensured by the law of resilience. Where does resilience come from in complex systems?
Options. Diversity.
Bingo. Resilience comes directly from having a diverse portfolio of options. Diversity capital, D. It's like investing, put all your money in one stock and you're incredibly fragile. Diversify, and you can weather shocks.
So for a civilization, viability means ensuring diversity in what? Technology, ideas, economic models.
All of the above. Diversity of thought, political approaches, energy sources, economic mechanisms, cultural expressions. Monocultures are brittle. Diverse ecosystems are resilient.
So putting it all together, a system that operationally requires dignity, capability, and viability is actually just a system that is intelligently designed to cultivate a balanced portfolio of all four mind capitals, M, I, N, and D.
That's it. It's the physics of a sustainable, thriving civilization in the face of constant change.
It really reframes fairness. It's not just a political slogan, it's a design spec for a system that works and lasts.
The goal isn't just to be nice. The goal is to build a system that is robust, adaptive, and doesn't self-destruct. Fairness is the mechanism for that robustness.
Okay, so we've established the fundamental requirements, the FOR. Now let's get to the blueprint, the actual mechanism of this new social contract. If the old deal was basically trade your scarce labor for income, what's the mechanism when intelligence is abundant?
The book argues the new contract can't be a simple transaction anymore. It has to be an endowment.
An endowment, like a gift.
Sort of, yeah. An endowment grounded in a new core principle, universal access to intelligence, or UAI. There's a key sentence capturing this on page 98. The old contract was a transaction of labor. The new contract must be an endowment, grounded in the principle of universal access to intelligence, UAI.
Okay, UAI, universal access to intelligence. That sounds big. This endowment idea, it's like giving people tools, not just cash.
Yeah.
Giving them leverage.
That's the core idea. Leverage in a world increasingly defined by AI. The book details 3 specific unbreakable promises that make up this UAI endowment.
Let's break them down. What's the first promise?
The first promise connects directly back to dignity. It's the right to dignity, ensured by a baseline of intelligence. And this is really important. The book is very clear. This is not the same as universal basic income, UBI.
Okay, that's a distinction people often get confused by. Why isn't it UBI? Why intelligence, not cash?
Because UBI, giving people cash, is fundamentally a material capital M solution. It assumes the main problem is lacking money to buy scarce goods.
Right.
But a baseline of intelligence recognizes that in this emerging symbiotic age, the real bottleneck, the foundational resource you need to participate, is intelligence itself. Access to computation, access to AI models.
So this baseline is like a guaranteed daily quota of computing power.
Yeah.
Access to certain fundamental AI tools.
Yes. Think of it as the new minimum required input for economic relevance, like guaranteeing everyone a powerful personal computing device and high-speed access, funded by the collective wealth generated by machine abundance.
So you have the basic cognitive tools needed to function, learn, and maybe even earn in the digital economy, regardless of your starting wealth.
Exactly. It's like the new digital equivalent of food and water. Without that baseline intelligence access, you're effectively disarmed, disenfranchised. Dignity becomes impossible.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second promise of UAI?
The second addresses capability and, crucially, agency. It's the right to capability, guaranteed by the sovereign AI.
Sovereign AI.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like personal digital property rights.
That's exactly what it is. The book argues every single human must be endowed with their own personal, cryptographically secured, and legally owned sovereign AI agent.
An AI agent that belongs to me.
Yes. This agent acts as your fiduciary. It's your digital representative, your negotiator, your data manager. It is positioned as the essential personal property right of the 21st century.
Okay, but how does that work? How do you make it truly sovereign? Wouldn't the big tech platforms still control the infrastructure, the data flows? That seems like a huge challenge.
It is the critical challenge, technically and legally. The sovereignty has to be real, protected by cryptography and robust legal frameworks. This agent needs genuine autonomy. It can't just be a puppet of the platform it runs on.
So his job is?
Its job is to manage your data for your benefit, negotiate access to services on your terms, help you learn and adapt, filter information, and this is key, ensure that the economic value you generate through your interactions, your unique data, your cognitive contribution, that value flows back to you or is used according to your explicit direction, not just extracted by a platform.
Ah, so it's the direct countermeasure to the surveillance capitalism model.
Precisely. If you don't own your agent, you're essentially just digital labor for the platform owner.
Yeah.
If you do own your sovereign agent, you become a principal, an owner in this new economy. It restores individual cognitive leverage.
That's a powerful idea. Okay, the third promise. This one links to viability, systemic resilience.
Right. This is the right to viability, guaranteed by the Knowledge Commons. Viability, remember, requires confidence in the whole system's stability and resilience.
And how does a knowledge commons ensure that?
Well, think about the opposite. If all the foundational AI models, the key algorithms, the critical training datasets are all proprietary, locked up inside a handful of giant corporations.
The global economy becomes a black box.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows how it works, and it's incredibly fragile.
Exactly. It's brittle. If one company's servers go down, or they change their API, or they decide to exclude certain groups or nations, the whole system dependent on them could face catastrophic failure. That's a massive failure of diversity, a failure of resilience.
So the knowledge commons is about open source, open access.
Essentially, yes. It mandates that the core intellectual infrastructure of this AI age, the foundational models, key data sets, essential protocols, must be treated as a public utility, an auditable, open license resource.
Like public roads or the internet protocols themselves.
Kind of like that, yes. This ensures transparency. We can see how things work. It prevents monopolistic lock-in. And it provides the necessary redundancy and diversity that decapital, allowing anyone to build, innovate, and adapt on top of a shared foundation. That guarantees systemic viability for everyone.
So the new social contract, UAI, is really a charter for empowerment. Dignity through a baseline of intelligence, capability through owning your own AI agent, and viability through a shared knowledge commons, all built on the physics of resilient systems.
That's the framework. And importantly, the book stresses this isn't something you just wait for politicians to maybe someday legislate.
Right. It says the listener, you're the author of this contract.
You enact it. You sign it with your actions.
Wow.
By building things that align with these principles, creating a symbiotic platform that shares value fairly, coding an open source AI tool, advocating for data ownership rights and transparency, maybe even starting a local currency that operates on non-zero-sum principles.
So every act of building a better, fairer, more resilient system is actually helping to write and implement this new social contract.
Yes. The old world, the scarcity-based contract, it doesn't necessarily die in a revolution. It dies by being gradually replaced, made obsolete by a better operating system, one that demonstrably works better for more people in an age of abundance.
That puts a lot of agency back in the hands of individuals and communities, builders, creators, organizers. That's a powerful closing thought for the chapter's argument. Okay, let's try and wrap this deep dive up. We need to crystallize what we've covered about these new rules of the game. So if I had to summarize chapter 14 in just one single powerful sentence, it would be this. The new social contract must pivot from guaranteeing income in a world of scarce labor to guaranteeing universal access to intelligence and agency in a world of machine abundance.
That captures it perfectly.
And the key takeaways from chapter 14, the things you really need to remember are, first, those classic philosophical contracts from Hobbes, Locke, and the rest. They were built for scarcity. The intelligence inversion breaks that foundation, making them obsolete.
Right. They serve their time, but the context has changed fundamentally.
Second, a fair and just system for this new era isn't just about morality. It needs to meet three operational requirements: dignity, capability, and viability. Remember fairness as an operational requirement.
It's about the physics of making the system work long term.
Third, these requirements aren't arbitrary. They map directly onto the fundamental laws of intelligence: flow for dignity, openness for capability, and resilience for viability. It's about nurturing all four mind capitals.
Material, intelligence, network, and diversity, keeping the whole portfolio healthy.
And finally, the actual mechanism for the new social contract is an endowment, not just a transaction. It's universal access to intelligence, UAI.
Which practically means that baseline of computational access and critically owning your own sovereign AI agent to navigate the world and counter-platform power, all built on an open knowledge commons.
Okay, so Chapter 14 gave us the what? The blueprint, the requirements for this new social contract based on intelligence abundance. But implementing this involves unleashing truly awesome levels of machine intelligence. And that power needs to be guided. It needs to be controlled. Most importantly, it needs to align with what's actually good for humanity.
The alignment problem.
It's huge.
Yes.
Maybe the problem. So our next deep dive, Chapter 15, the alignment economy, gets right into that. It tackles the ultimate question hanging over everything. Who commands the machines? How do we ensure their goals, their operations, actually align with human flourishing, not just computational efficiency or some other alien objective? It's a critical piece of the puzzle.
Definitely a discussion you won't want to miss.
Absolutely. So join us next time for that deep dive.